Darth Vader was known as the most powerful dark force in the galaxy during the time of the Galactic Empire, but that was only on the outside. Inside Vader's suit, you'd find a world of pain and suffering unlike anything you'd ever experienced. Vader's suit wasn't just armor and a means to spread fear, it was his own personal prison. If you put Vader's helmet on, you'd notice that it was designed to keep you alive even with catastrophic injuries like the ones he suffered on Mustafar. The helmet consisted of 3 main interlocking components which would be magnetically clamped together with an airtight seal. Inside the protective neck gaiter, you'd find the vocoder and voice processor that would deepen your voice to instill fear in everyone who hears it. A nutrient feeding tube would supply RepMed Vitapaste that tasted horrible. If that wasn't bad enough, the respiratory system was the most complex part of the face mask as it contained an air pump that produced the iconic breathing sound. It contained internal neurocircuitry that was able to interface with your nervous system directly, but it could only do this by using needles that would pierce your skull, causing constant pain that would radiate throughout your head. Your eyesight is damaged from the burns on Mustafar, so the helmet is fitted with red-tinted lenses that would calibrate colors specifically arranged around the spectrum that your eyes could process, and it would provide ultraviolet and infrared vision. A heads-up display is included that gives battlefield data, magnification, and comlink frequencies that are connected to your base of operations and units. A nice addition to the mask is the fact that it could regulate your body temperature and filter out any toxins that might be in the air. The mask would allow you to survive the vacuum of space for a short period of time, and you could handle dangerous atmospheres on certain planets deemed dangerous for human anatomy. Well, the General has been making additions to his collection for several years now, and if you're anything like me, you've probably imagined what it could be like to own a saber yourself. So that's why I started my own store called Stickman Sabers, with a singular goal in mind. Make sabers that look amazing, being inspired by iconic designs but specifically built to actually duel with. No worrying about babying them, just pick them up and go ham. They're equipped with state-of-the-art pixel technology, giving off an incredibly bright light that will light up the darkest rooms out there. And obviously have that iconic hum, just feels right the moment you switch it on. And for a limited time, if you pick a collector's saber up, you'll also get 2 combat sabers for free. So, if you ever thought about starting your own collection, this is a pretty good place to start. Links in the description, and now, let's get back to the video. Considering the burns suffered on Mustafar, an artificial replacement had to be included in the suit, which was known as Synth skin. It wasn't visible from the outside of the armor, but it could definitely be felt whenever the suit was on. It was pale, grayish, and heavily scarred from years of wear, but it was covered with a body glove made of ortho fabric that protected it from further damage. This part of the suit was fireproof and blast resistant to protect the pressurized seal over the life support systems. As for the synth flesh, it was notorious for causing unbearable itching and did not breathe like organic tissue does. It would require frequent cleaning, which was done by droids that would scrub off any necrotic waste and gunk that would accumulate from the dead flesh under it. Even though synth flesh was amazing at acting as a fake skin suit, it was intentionally made from lower quality materials to ensure the wearer would be in a constant state of perpetual frustration and pain. Incidentally, this was perfect for fueling a connection to the dark side. If that wasn't enough, all of the internal components of the armor was made of inferior alloys. This meant that they would constantly snag on the inside and rub against all of the raw and scarred skin that was left on the biological segments. Naturally, this meant that all of the burns suffered on Mustafar would never truly heal, and new sores and burns would appear over the years. Breathing might seem like a basic function to most people, but for Vader, the suit made it as inconvenient as possible. The suit's system was essentially a mobile version of the iron lung, as the large respirator pump located in the chest plate would move air in and out of the lungs in a rhythmic pace that was fixed. There was no way for you to breathe a sigh of relief or take a deep breath, as the respirator was set to a specific cadence. This helped to create a sense of suffocation whenever you had to exert a certain amount of physical energy. While the iconic sound of the respirator was great for creating a sense of dread for those around you, it was absolutely mind-numbingly loud to someone wearing the helmet. It also meant that stealth was not an option whenever going out on a mission, which led to Vader having to face challenges head-on with brute force. It also made sleep an impossible mission, as the loud mechanical breathing could cause him to suffer from chronic insomnia. The only rest one could get from the incessant breathing sounds would be in Vader's meditation chamber, where you could remove the helmet and enjoy the silence so long as you could use the Force to keep your lungs functioning properly. The recycled air was usually cold and dry, and for someone with scarred and sensitive lung tissue, this was an absolute nightmare. This meant that every single breath you'd breathe would cause pain over scar tissue inside of your body. This system was also considered to be sort of Achilles' heel, since it was sitting right there exposed on your chest. Any well-placed strike could short-circuit the system, leading to your death from asphyxiation. This also meant that a breach in the seal of your mask would make it almost impossible for the pump to inflate your lungs thanks to the pressure differential. When you get all your limbs sliced off, it comes down to the suit to give you new ones, but this is no easy feat. Vader's new limbs weren't just strapped onto his torso and powered by the Force, they were surgically anchored to the scarred and damaged remains of his body. At Emperor Palpatine's Surgical Reconstruction Center, the medical droids would use Durasteel alloy shanks to make the connection between your organic bone stumps and the outdated mechanical limbs that you're supposed to live with for the rest of your life. Since most of your organic muscles have been burned away, powerful servo motors and pistons are used to provide the leverage needed to move the heavy suit. The suit itself is 120 kilograms, and in order to support that heavy weight, what's left of your spine needs to be reinforced. A prosthetic spine with a mineral solution-fed augmentation would give the remaining bones enough of a boost that your skeleton would essentially be a mechanical biohybrid. The worst part of all of this is the needles that would be used to connect the limbs to your body. Microscopic needles would be put into your upper spine with surgical droids, spending hours to manually connect severed nerve endings to the sensor webs. Better yet, with the terrible master that Palpatine was, the prosthetics were made so that you could feel pain even though this wasn't necessary at all. Your limbs were completely detachable for whenever they needed maintenance done, but this meant that you would feel the limbs getting locked back into their sockets with their magnetic locking systems, and the boots featured ferromagnetic cores that would let you attach to metal surfaces. When you're facing an agile opponent like former Jedi Knights, it would help to be just as agile as they are, but that wouldn't be the case with Vader's suit. The shoulder armor alone weighed over 12 kilograms, and the rigid neck brace would keep you from raising your arms over your head and turning your neck quickly. Clunky mechanics would make you much slower than most of your opponents, as the technology used for the suit was outdated and never got upgraded. While the boots were magnetic to keep you attached to a ship's hull with ease, their weight alone made movement and balance extremely difficult, especially on uneven terrain. With the mechanical body comes mechanical problems. The outdated tech used for the suit meant that maintenance was a constant requirement, but it also meant that tech-savvy enemies could hack the system. Skilled slicers and certain droids like IG-88 were proven to be able to hack the internal mechanics of the suit so that they could take control of Vader's limbs. In the middle of a fight, the last thing you'd want is to lose control of your own body. And for someone in constant pain and facing opponents on a regular basis, this is extremely frustrating. Another vulnerability of the suit was how susceptible it was to Force lightning, and with a master like Palpatine, this was a terrible power to deal with. There were robots and other technology that was made to be resistant to lightning in the galaxy, but Palpatine chose to make the armor vulnerable as a way to keep his powerful apprentice in check. What really made this an annoyance is the fact that regular lightning could also short-circuit the life support in the chest box and internal systems. The suit's Durasteel acted as a living conduit that would amplify the damage of electrical strikes. For a Sith Lord, this also kept his own powers in check. Force lightning is an absolute insane power that can only be used by the dark side, but with a suit that's vulnerable to the power itself, that meant that Vader could never use it himself. If you were to use Force lightning while wearing the suit, it would backfire and short out your own life support. When looking at the suit, one's eyes might be drawn straight to the chest plate with red and green buttons on it. This was actually a huge weakness when facing opponents that could get in close, as the plate itself was left unprotected. Anyone who was fast enough to strike the buttons could easily disable your heart and lung regulators. For anyone that is claustrophobic, the suit is a walking nightmare. The vacuum seal on the suit was an essential function considering some of the locations and environments Vader would go to, but this also meant that you were trapped inside this suit with the synthetic skin and armor sleeve sealed tight around your entire body. There are no natural human sensations to feel while wearing the suit, since sight was shaded through the helmet and touch was covered through the suit. The worst part of the suit was Palpatine's control over it though. Not only did he make it susceptible to lightning, but he also had a kill switch installed in it. Palpatine had the suit's chief architect, Dr. Silo, install a kill switch in case Vader went rogue and rebelled. The handheld remote could shut down the entire cybernetic system and turn the suit into a metal tomb that would be pinned to the ground. Sadly, Silo tried to use the device to kill Vader once, but Vader was so powerful in the Force that he telekinetically restarted the whole system and killed Silo while the suit was switched off. A disgusting little issue to deal with would be found within the mechanical boots, where the interior of the suit would collect excess fluid and waste that the drainage systems couldn't flush because they were prone to clogging. This would be handled when the medical droids did their routine maintenance and scrub away the necrotic tissue, but it also meant that you would have to walk around with the sloshing in your boots. One of the worst parts of Vader's suit was the fact that all of the tech was obsolete. If you would be able to pick your own cybernetics, it would have been really easy to get top-of-the-line upgrades that would have left you being as agile as a human without any injuries, but Palpatine chose to use obsolete parts on purpose. Palpatine had already been seen giving cutting-edge cybernetics to General Grievous, but he wasn't worried about Grievous revolting against him. Vader was a much more fearsome Sith Lord who could have easily bested Palpatine had he had a more functioning body. Oh, and again, for a limited time, every Stickman saber purchase comes with 2 additional combat sabers, so you're more than ready for your own duels. If that sounds like something you'd want to look into, the link's in the description.